Story 1. I'll share my insight on this, and I won't bother using a throwaway account because I own what I did. This is basically going to be the opposite of what everyone else is saying here. It's my lived experience. I've cheated on my wife at massage parlors before. I went a few times before the guilt caught up with me and I confessed. The reason was simple and selfish. I was very aroused, and I wasn't satisfied with our sex life. It was a cheap, easy way to get no strings attached sexual gratification. We had been swinging and having threesomes for about a year before it happened, and it suddenly got cut off because jealousy started to creep in on her end. But I wasn't quite ready to give it up, so I did a terrible thing. I remember the moment I did it. I instantly thought, wow, I'm a cheater now. That's who I am. Anytime someone mentions cheating online or in media, that is me now. It really blew my mind because up until that moment, I had absolutely no idea I was capable of doing something so bad. I thought I was a good person. I won't make excuses for what I did or call it a mistake because it wasn't. It was a series of choices, but I did regret it. I confessed, and she got horribly upset. She didn't yell or throw things. I just offered to leave if she wanted, and she said yes. She spent the next 2 weeks at our home, alone, thinking and mourning. I mourned too, but gave her space to think without crowding her. I wrote her a couple of long, overwritten texts about how sorry I was and how much I regretted who I became. Eventually, she forgave me. She didn't have to, and I didn't deserve it, but she did, through her grace. I'm still living up to that grace every day. I went to therapy with a professional. It helped a bit. We decided I don't have a sexual addiction, just a strong arousal streak. We went to couples therapy, and it helped tremendously. Honestly, and again, I'll never make excuses for what happened or try to justify it, but we learned so much about each other from that therapist, about needs and wants, communication, love languages, and more. We came out of this stronger than we went in as a couple, only because she chose to have faith in me, even after I betrayed her. It took years to rebuild that trust, and it's still ongoing. But she and I have both confessed that we're now more in love than ever. The point of making mistakes is to grow from them. I'm not saying anyone has an obligation or duty to stay with someone who has disrespected or abused them. Not at all. That's an individual choice and often not the right one. It depends on the people involved. Trauma affects different people in different ways, and if being cheated on is something that will haunt you forever every time you look at them, that is one thing. But not all cases of cheating are lost causes. Sometimes they are tragic learning experiences that carry a lifetime of regret but allow you to become a better person. Her forgiving me doesn't undo what I did. It just gives me a chance to handle it better. We've been together 11 years now, and 3 years since the incident. We've rebuilt trust and respect that was shattered. Massage parlors and swinging barely even come to mind anymore. Our sex life is great, although less frequent now since she's pregnant with our first child, which was planned. People often like to think that it's impossible for someone to do something bad to you if they truly love and respect you. But I don't think that's true. That view is too black and white for me. It's a survival or coping mechanism to avoid pain and rationalize the irrational. And it works a lot of the time, but the truth is messy. Selfishness is a powerful force and can make people do things to people they otherwise hold deep love and respect for. Sometimes it is even a lack of self-respect. Story 2. I cheated once in an earlier life, a lifetime ago. I did not deserve to be forgiven. I will live with the shame forever, and I deserve to. I did not and do not deserve forgiveness. I have grown, changed, and become a better person. But that person I was an utter scumbag. Story 3. Cheaters only learn when their cheating has consequences you cannot undo. My dad cheated on my mom. My mom forgave him, so he did it again more quietly. She divorced him for the second time, and would you believe it, my dad actually worked on himself to become a better, unrecognizable person. And my mom still forgave him in the end. Forgiveness is not absolution. You can forgive while delivering the appropriate consequences. Story 4. I gave her another chance. We had been together about 2 years and living together nearly full-time for about 6 months. I suspected she might be cheating, but I thought I was just jealous because she was hanging out with some new people. We were also going through a transitional period in our post-college days. At some point, the writing was on the wall, and I caught them the following morning. She was clearly intoxicated, but likely also willing. It took a lot of soul-searching on both of our parts to unravel it and decide if it was worth continuing our relationship. I opted to give her another chance. We have been together now for nearly 30 years, married for 25 of those. Honestly, I have zero doubts or regrets about it. On rare occasions, I think about it, but it is not often. There is so much good that came out of that second chance. Of course, it could have ended very differently, as often happens with second chances for many couples. I have never taken advantage of that cheat, nor do I intend to. Story 5. No, because cheating involves many negative qualities. Not only are they being unfaithful, but they are also lying, hiding things, being selfish, and disregarding your feelings and how it will affect you. Story 6. 99% of cases. No. In the 1% chance that we have a long relationship, it only happened once, depending on what occurred, and that you come and tell me you cheated before I find out myself, show real remorse and never do it again, maybe. Also, a single lie about any of this and it is over, period. Story 7. Yes, we had 2 children together. I forgave him because the first time he got on his knees crying and begging me to forgive him and save our family. Unfortunately, he cheated again, so I left. Now he is begging me to come back. But it is too late. What is done, you messed up. Story 8. People are childish. Wife and mother of 3 children who has expressed remorse and wants to try to work it out? Start with counseling and see how it goes. Story 9. You can try, but that feeling of resentment never goes away, no matter how hard you try. Do not be like me and try to save the relationship. Move on sooner rather than later. You will save yourself a lot of pain that way. Story 10. This is the same question I have been asking myself. It is easy to say no. However, I do believe that if people actually have the will to change and make the effort, it could be possible. Even then, it is risky. I am in the same predicament with my ex right now. Story 11. Context is everything, I think. If we had a great relationship but it reached a point where we both felt disconnected, stressed, and communication was no longer there, and my girlfriend cheated, if she immediately confessed, felt genuine remorse, and it was more of a random one-night stand rather than something that had been building, then maybe we could find a way to work it out, especially if we had children. That would still be a big maybe, though. Story 12. If it is genuinely just sex, yes. Sex does not matter to me. If it matters to you and you get it elsewhere, I would rather you tell me about it. I would give my blessing and say that outright before it becomes an issue. However, if you do it covertly instead, okay. I honestly would not be terribly bothered. If it is a full-fledged romantic thing, no. Story 13. No. You cheat once, we're done. There is no legitimate excuse for cheating. The only reason it ever happens is because the cheater chooses to allow it. Story 14. It would depend on how they cheated. If it was a weak moment, then yes, we are human. But a full-on affair, absolutely not. Story 15. Every person I know who has given them a second chance has been cheated on again. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Personally, that trust is gone and will never return. Story 16. I gave her a second chance. I told her to cut all communication with the other person and be completely truthful. I asked her a series of 20 questions that bothered me. She seemed genuine. I told her what I needed in the relationship going forward, and she changed everything I asked. No smoking or drinking anymore, home by 11 when going out with her girlfriend, and to lower her emotional barriers. It worked well for 5 years. Then I developed feelings for someone else. Looking back, I think the cheating was a factor. If we were married, I believe we would have worked through it better. Story 17. I dated someone who told me they had cheated before we started dating once. Big mistake. They, of course, cheated on me, and I had the audacity to be shocked. I should not have been. But they told me that they learned from the consequences of it and that it had been a number of years since it happened. Story 18. It is difficult to make the right decision when you are very close to it. I stayed with my former wife after she was unfaithful. We remained together for another 7 years and had another child. Eventually, she was unfaithful again, and I ended the relationship for good. Looking back now, 18 years later, I clearly should have left immediately. I wasted another 7 years of my life with her. Story 19. I am a 75-year-old male and a widower. It never came up with my wife. But if it had, and she wanted another chance, I cannot imagine not giving her that chance. I did not marry her just to gain exclusive usage rights to her genitals. If all I was interested in was sex, I had no need to get married. I married the whole woman. There were many other things I wanted her for, valued her for, and that she gave me besides sex. I would not just throw it all away that easily. If I thought we could still work it out, I would try. Story 20. I've known a couple where one person cheated. They are now happily married with 2 children and, for all intents and purposes, stronger than ever. It really depends on the people. Maybe the person who cheated truly shows remorse and does everything possible to earn forgiveness and rebuild trust. For some, it works and leads to a better relationship. Personally, I can't say for sure. It's easy to say, of course I would leave them, the trust is broken. But right now, I cannot imagine my life without my significant other. My love for them is so complete that no amount of "you will move on" or "you will be better off without them" convinces me that being apart is better. So who knows? I certainly don't. Story 21. I forgave my high school girlfriend every time she cheated on me during our 3-year relationship because I was too afraid of being alone. In the end, she dumped me because she was already involved with someone else. She reached out to me 5 years after we broke up, when we were adults nearing the end of college, to apologize sincerely for everything she did. I forgave her. We are good friends now, living on opposite sides of a foreign country, living our own lives, and helping each other when needed. Story 22. Only upon drastic self-reflection, repair, and changed behavior would I need to see that the other person truly regrets it and that I am their first choice. However, in 99% of cases, it is a straightforward no. Story 23. Cheaters rarely learn their lesson, though some never cheat again. You will hear a 50-50 split in opinions. The real question is, do you want to give your partner another chance? It is a gamble, and only you can decide if it is worth the risk. We can discuss all day, but it ultimately comes down to you. Story 24. Cheating is not an accident. It is a choice, so there is no excuse. Trust is everything. Untrustworthy people cannot afford it. Story 25. Never. Some people think giving them a second chance could salvage a marriage or relationship, but it never actually helps. Not for children, not for mental health, not for you, not for anyone. Story 26. I have seen how cheaters express themselves in a safe space, and my answer is absolutely not. Others can forgive and give a chance, but not me. It would have to be blackmail for me to let it go. I am not staying for the family either. Story 27. No, if they did it once, they will do it again. They might say they are sorry, but most likely they are just sorry they got caught. Story 28. If it involves lying and deception, not a chance. One-off mistake followed by a confession shortly after, maybe. Story 29. No. Cheating is the ultimate betrayal. I take it further. I have distanced myself from friends who cheated. When I found out, that friendship was over. Story 30. No, you do not. If you do, it is only because you do not respect yourself enough. Kick their ass to the curb and be done with it, because if they do it once, they will definitely do it again. Story 31. I think it depends on how valuable this partner is to me. I used to think I would break up in any situation, no matter the context, but I have read many stories of women who are married to extremely wealthy and successful men. When they get cheated on, it becomes a complicated question because they do not just lose their husband, but they lose their lifestyle too. Story 32. The answer is no. If your partner cheated on you, they have no respect for you. Doing anything other than walking away is a serious lack of self-respect. Not to mention, they also have to be a liar and a genuinely untrustworthy person to pull it off. Who wants a partner like that? Even if they genuinely regret it, you will never be able to trust them again. You will be suspicious of things they say and places they go. Broken trust does not mend easily. They are not worth another second of your time. Story 33. If you are not enthusiastic about dating me, then I do not want to be dating you. If you went through all the trouble, time, logistics, and effort to be with someone else, okay, you can date them. Story 34. No. Cheaters are morally flawed. They lack the ability to stand on principles and dedication when faced with emotional desires. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Story 35. At this point, I am honestly not sure if my husband did it, but I do not think so. It would be difficult to let him go even after, but it is probably better. Story 36. I have never been cheated on, but my answer would be no. I do not think I could continue being with someone who cheated because anything he does would make me doubt him, no matter how hard he tries to change. I would not be my best self, and the relationship would be doomed because trust can never be rebuilt. Story 37. No, I cannot give a cheating partner a chance. I cannot trust him again. I will find it hard to believe anything that comes out of his mouth, even if he is telling the truth. Story 38. I was very young and inexperienced, 16 years old. I had no concept of my self-worth or that relationships would significantly improve with age and wisdom. Story 39. No, that is a hard boundary for me. No second chances if she does not know how to behave herself in a relationship. She is not going to learn it until the next time the opportunity presents itself. She might learn it for her next relationship, but even if she does not, it will not be my headache. Story 40. I would not recommend it. The situation would have to be very particular. This is coming from someone who was given another chance. Story 41. I do not think so. I do not think I would ever be able to get over it. I certainly do not think I could handle being intimate again, not the same as before. If that is true, then why stay together? Story 42. No. I did it, regretted it, and still feel like a complete fool to this day. I wish I could go back and slap myself. The dog bit my finger off, and I held out my other hand. Story 43. No. The trust is broken, and you would be suspicious of them every time they are out with friends or honestly not at home, period. If they are texting someone in front of you, it is a constant. Who are they texting? Are they cheating again? I will save myself the headache and move on. Story 44. No, but my friend did. He was addicted to drugs, his parents were divorced, and his brother was going through something. He is 28 years old, by the way. Yes, so she is just an idiot, basically. Story 45. It depends entirely on the context. Why did they do it? How contrite do they seem? What methods of improving the situation and rebuilding trust are they proposing or open to? I think most of the time I would not give a chance. However, there might be a few rare scenarios where I would. Story 46. Maybe once, especially if we are married, if I know I was lacking, if my resentment and grudge do not take over my head, and if he was generally a good partner prior to that. If he does it again, I know for sure I will catch him. I will leave him on the spot unless he wants me to go berserk and be a criminal. Story 47. No. There is no trust left. They do not respect me and have no care or consideration for me or the relationship whatsoever. I am worth more than that. Story 48. I am okay with non-monogamy. An open relationship is fine. It is really about trust and communication. It depends on whether there was a slip-up in communication, which is understandable, or if they broke my trust, which is a problem. Story 49. Consider monogamy like sobriety. If they are doing the work, a slip is not a fall. Also, if you go through an entire lengthy marriage and only slip up once or even twice, then you are good at monogamy. Can be difficult. Story 50. It honestly depends on the context. Why, how, and for how long the affair lasted. Whether it was a one-time event or repeated. How much the person matters to you, and how much you value your potential future together. Is the person who betrayed you suffering from their actions? Cheating is always a series of choices made willingly. Most importantly, the main question is, do you have it in you to actually try and forgive? If not, it does not matter who says what on any platform. If yes, the same sentiment applies. Story 51. I did once. I really did love her. Too bad it all went wrong. I got past the problems. She never did. I will not make that mistake again. Story 52. She cheated multiple times over a 4-year period. The reason I forgave her is because I loved her so much. I put my faith in all her lies if it meant she stayed. Story 53. No. Cheaters show their colors, they do not value you, and they are just coming back because they do not know how to be alone or do the hard work in a relationship, which is why they flaked in the first place. Story 54. Nope. Once a cheater, always a cheater, and I will not share my life with a cheater. However, I have no objections to those sharing their partners. Story 55. If it can be done once, it can be done again. How much of an emotional load are you willing to put on the line a second time? It is not to say people do not make mistakes, but building an extramarital relationship takes time and deliberate planning. Just remember that. Story 56. I did it twice, but never again. Both women acted as if they could get away with anything and continued to treat me worse and worse after I attempted forgiveness and rebuilding. I learned a lot about self-respect going through those experiences and managed to find and marry an amazing woman a few years ago. Story 57. I personally would not, but I could understand why someone else would, especially if children are involved. Story 58. No. From experience, the two girls, including my first wife, whom I dated and who cheated on me, did it again. It is still a minority out of the 30 partners I have had. There are men who need to seduce, and there are women who have the same need. Story 59. No. There is no excuse. It did not just happen. You are consciously aware of your actions every step of the way, and you still made the decision to cheat. Story 60. No, you should never, because if they cheat once, they will most likely, without a doubt, do it again. I have given cheating partners multiple chances, and it really messes you up after a while of them doing it and making the same empty promises. It makes trusting in another relationship much harder. Story 61. As someone who has both cheated and been cheated on, yes. Cheating, in my experience, usually comes from a place of insecurity. If the insecurity can be addressed, the relationship can be repaired. Story 62. It is less about the cheating itself and more about breaking a promise. Monogamy is not that important to me, but if I found out my partner slept with someone else without telling me, it would prove that I cannot trust them with other things, so the answer to your question is no. Story 63. As a former cheater, no. I cheated relentlessly on a few exes. It was not because I did not love them, but because I loved women and sex so much that I had an insatiable thirst I could not quench with one woman. Now, older, I have an attractive wife, children, properties, and more. I do not cheat. I get approached frequently but do not act on it. Why? Because I value who and what I have and do not want to ruin any of that or hurt anyone. My advice is no. Almost always, cheaters will cheat repeatedly, and if you think you caught your partner cheating for the first time, you are probably wrong. Story 64. I used to, but never again. A betrayal of trust is something you should not ignore. They will take advantage of your kindness and do it again, only in a more crafty way to avoid getting caught. Unless they do not care, then they will blatantly do it again in a way they know you will find out. Story 65. Yes, I did and regretted it. She went on a camping trip with her problematic best friend, cheated, and told me the next day. I thought it would not be such a big deal and forgave her, which was a massive mistake. After that, she simply never believed me when I said I needed her to distance herself from the affair partner. She would agree to things and then not follow through, even with obvious actions. I gave her second chances repeatedly, waited, explained and re-explained why it was a problem, hoping she would understand, but she never did. Couples therapy was pointless. We broke up 8 months later. I wished it had been much sooner. At least I know for sure there was zero chance it could have worked out, and I confirmed that many times before it became final. Not worth it. Story 66. I really wanted to believe that I could get past it. To keep my family together, I tried with every fiber of my being. Having a failed family was the worst thing I could imagine, even worse than someone cheating on me, so I put up with it. In the end, I wish I hadn't. Over time, I lost all my self-respect and dignity. Eventually, I was unable to repair the trust in my ex, and the anxiety and stress were ruining my life. Only when I decided that being without her would be better than being with her did things start getting better. In a perfect world, I would still be with her and madly in love, but she broke that, and I was unable to fix it. Story 67. Absolutely not. I have zero sympathy for that. It happened to me as a teenager. I tried to stay but left after a few months because I just could not shake it from my head. It ruined everything for the relationship and my self-esteem. I was constantly comparing myself to the women I knew he was actually attracted to, who looked nothing like me. That is an immediate breakup for me. Just leave me if you are not happy. Tell me to go away, I do not care. Anything but cheating. Story 68. As a man, absolutely not. A woman who cheats on you has lost respect for you. That will never change, and the relationship is over. It is only a matter of time before she steps out again. Story 69. Absolutely not. They disrespected their partner in the first instance. Who is to say they will not do it again? Story 70. Yes, a chance to pack their belongings and leave. 1 day of packing per year of the relationship. Story 71. Yes, it was a terrible mistake. I had invested many years of my life, missed out on many other things, and sacrificed so much, all on the idea that it would be worth it in the end. I didn't want to throw all that away. I found out the cheating was much deeper and involved more people than I thought. She didn't want to cut them out of her life. She just became sneakier. Trust had already been destroyed, and I don't believe the doubt would have ever left my mind, even if we had somehow kept going. Story 72. Not me. My friend who is in the Navy got caught a few times, and his wife still puts up with it. They have 2 kids, and yeah, they seem to be happy still together. She either decided to cheat with someone else secretly or just has a very high tolerance. Story 73. No, but only because I have yet to see a relationship recover. In one instance, cheating happened early on. They worked through it and were together for 10 years before the other cheated. It resulted in a horrible fallout. The others ended more swiftly or were a slow bleed over a year or 2 before ending. Story 74. I gave my ex-husband 1 chance. I told him if he completely cut off the other woman and focused on fixing our relationship, I would give him a shot. He said, "No, I'm done." So I said, "Okay, then we are done." And I started the painful process of grieving and moving on. I gave him that chance because I knew if things ended, it meant that everything I thought my life would be was over and gone. I could see it all shattering, and that was terrifying. About a month and a half later, he found out the grass was not really greener on the other side, and he tried to get me back. He tried to apologize and wanted to fix things. I told him no. I told him I had already given him that chance, and he chose not to take it. I am very happy it turned out that way, but I would have given him a chance if he had answered differently. Mostly because I was afraid of change. Story 75. No, the selfishness involved in cheating is really undersold. They want to say they weren't getting what they wanted. I would lose all respect for them, and my view of them would be tainted forever. To me, a core part of being a good person is not being selfish. So, regardless of why that person is not a good person, they have demonstrated that they lack empathy. Why would I be with someone like that? Story 76. Cheating on me means goodbye forever. Never speak to me again. I could not marry a girl who had a boyfriend before me. I could barely sleep with them. So if you cheat on me, you will be out the door quickly. Story 77. I have never had to, but I would, depending on the context. Reddit is very black and white, but all things in life have nuance. Story 78. Once that initial trust is broken, you do not become the same partner. Everything she says, every compliment, every little thing she does to mend things becomes food for doubt. Story 79. If your partner messaged someone else sexually but never actually had sex and had no intent of having sex, and they just wanted attention, is it cheating? Story 80. It would depend on the level of involvement, whether it was long-term cheating or an emotional connection. If they were genuinely sorry, admitted their mistake, and wanted to commit fully, then yes, I would give a second chance. Story 81. No. I did that once and it broke me. I just thought they would stop, that maybe they were just doing the best they could. I was delusional. Story 82. No. I draw a hard line. It is not that I do not think it is possible for someone to cheat. I can even empathize with the struggles that can cause someone to cheat. However, once someone does it to me, I can never fully trust them again. Story 83. I was a fool for giving them a second chance. All they did was take the second chance and cheat again later. Story 84. The only reason would be if we are raising children, and only if they are willing to work with me to build a relationship based on mutual respect. This way, we can at least have a chance to protect our children from experiencing destabilization and confusion about what relationships look like by witnessing failure. This would be until they become mature enough to understand that life is complex and messy, and learn to rely on themselves mostly. Then, I would explain to them how things were and whether we decide to separate after the children grow up. However, I would have no expectations of this actually happening with anyone I have a relationship with. It would be a stroke of luck if it did, but I would be willing to take that chance just to see if it works before ending things. Story 85. I did because he emotionally manipulated me into forgiving and consoling him for everything he did to me. Then he ruined that chance, and I realized he is an abusive person and left him. Now, I am never doing that again. Fortunately, that will not happen. My fiancé would never cheat on me. We have had conversations about this. He has been with me through all the PTSD and the healing. We communicate and respect boundaries. Our relationship is very healthy. Story 86. Never. May this thought of mine remain and never change. From the moment someone betrays you, that person does not deserve to even touch your feet. Story 87. I did, and she continued to cheat on me. After many times I forgave her, I was tired. My ability to trust was completely shattered for a long time. Took me a while to heal, and now I am married to a wonderful woman. From my experience, I can say do not give cheaters a second chance. It does not happen by accident. Story 88. I have given cheating partners chances, but I won't again, and I have several reasons that I consider valid. The first one seems obvious to me. I have never cheated on someone else. I know that I don't deserve it, and I don't think I could get over it long term. They are not necessarily bad people, but they are bad people for me, and I have thought that through many times. In addition, it is just the worst feeling. I have never had a partner come clean about cheating when it first happened, and I have had to do painful sleuthing to figure it out every time. When I eventually know the truth, I have never received heartfelt apologies or plans for change. It is always the same lack of transparency and related backpedaling. Those were not mistakes. The outcome would have been obvious to any third-party observer. These days, I do not deserve that kind of disrespect. Nothing about me is perfect, but I hold myself in higher regard than to tolerate it, so I have made up my mind. I am sure there are situations that might make me second-guess, but I am firm in my stance today. Story 89. I forgot to add that it would have to be an incident they told me about versus me finding out. Deception is a deal breaker. I understand why you say that. I still stand by my statement and feel my partner would respect my forgiveness, knowing I recognize them as a person who is not perfect and that there would not be any second chances. Story 90. I did that years ago because I thought she would change, but she cheated again. Never again will I forgive someone for that behavior. Story 91. No. I am neurodivergent. The world is not made for me, and for once, when I am home, I want to be myself. No riddles, no trust-breaking, no lying. If my sanctuary is stained, I will pack my bags and leave. Story 92. My girlfriend cheated on me, and to make up for it, she allowed me to be intimate with her in that way. Over time, trust did not rebuild, even though it was enjoyable. We eventually broke up. Story 93. I did. She cheated on me once and promised she never would again. 6 months later, I caught her with another person before anyone used that term. Story 94. You gave them a chance. They cheated. Get away from them. They do not respect you or the type of relationship you thought you had. Find someone who does. Story 95. I did once because I truly believed people can make mistakes and still love you. But looking back, I was just scared to let go. Story 96. No, never. I've never seen someone try to get past it and not end up with a completely toxic relationship. It often ends with the victim of the cheating returning the favor or getting cheated on again. Either way, the relationship has no trust left. Story 97. No. You will never forget, and the resentment will destroy you both. If they truly loved you, they would not have done that to you. Story 98. No. Once a cheater, always a cheater. More importantly, they will lose respect for you, and you will lose respect for yourself. I have never been cheated on, but if it happened, I would not let the door hit me on the way out. Story 99. I never understood how cheating is so common in society or why people do it. Why do people even enter relationships if they do not feel like fully committing? Every girl I have ever been involved with, even if it was just the talking stage, I have never even had the thought of cheating on them. Story 100. If they honestly admitted it without being confronted. If they were genuinely remorseful. If they found reasons within themselves why they cheated and did not blame me. If they did not cause further harm to me in an attempt to cover up. If they allowed me special treats like a massage or nails done to help me feel physically better about myself. If they did the work to change and not cheat again. Then yes. Story 101. Yes, because my love for her outweighed my anger and disappointment. She has also gone to therapy for it, and we have had 2 children since. Story 102. I have never cheated, but I have been cheated on by several partners. I always forgave them because I believe people make mistakes and deserve a chance to improve themselves. However, they did not. The trust was broken, and there was no attempt to mend it. I am glad I gave them the chance and saw that they failed. That is closure. There is no wondering if I made the right choice when I ended the relationship later. Story 103. I think you shouldn't give them a chance if you don't deeply feel it. I wish my ex had left me when I emotionally cheated and kissed another girl. It was awful and wrong. I felt extremely guilty, so I confessed as soon as she got back from her trip to visit her parents. Offered to leave, but she wanted to work on it. Honestly, I was shocked she let me stay because I was ready to pack up. I realized I ruined it and didn't deserve another chance. It was time to own up to my actions and accept the consequences. She never truly got over it and then gave me some of my own medicine. She later cheated on me and ended up marrying the girl she left me for. At the end of our relationship, she mentioned she never got over the other woman. It was a big factor in her decision to leave me. Instead of wasting 1.5 years of both of our lives, she should have cut it off when I confessed. Now I can never forgive her and refuse to ever see her again. She suggested we meet up or stay friends, but I just feel hatred. A 6-year relationship amounted to nothing because we couldn't end it when it needed to. Story 104. Yes. It depends on their narrative and feelings about the cheating. It also depends on my performance as a partner and whether I was showing up the way I should. Not that I think it excuses it, but I would be more sympathetic. Was it an affair? No. Were they blaming and comparing me to the other person? No. I think it is a complex decision to make with many factors. The conditions for forgiveness are specific. Story 105. Let me tell you a story. My uncle was cheated on by my aunt while he was working hard to provide for the family and took care of the in-laws. My aunt was caught a couple of times in bed. She had a bad reputation around the neighborhood. These things happened when they were in their 30s. Fast forward 20 years later, the kids are grown, the family is intact, and my uncle and aunt love each other like 2 lovebirds. If my uncle had never given her a chance, it would have ruined many things or altered the future. What I am trying to say is everyone goes through phases. Cheating is really bad, but if you can overcome your anxiety and anger, you can save a glass from being broken beyond repair. Give this another chance. Story 106. Cheating reminds me of a quote from the short film Telephone by Lady Gaga and Beyoncé. Beyoncé, trust is like a mirror. You can fix it if it's broken. Lady Gaga, but you can still see the crack in that mother reflection. You can pretend it's fixed, but it will never be the same as before. I have never been cheated on, but if that were to happen, it would be over immediately. Story 107. I am currently in a relationship. She emotionally cheated on me with people online. I forgave her, but she keeps doing the same thing. She goes to extreme lengths to hide it as well. All I can say from my experience is once they do it, they will do it again. If you take them back, they lose respect for you. Story 108. I would forgive her only because of my inability to satisfy her sexually. She deserves proper intimacy. Story 109. No, if you are at the point of cheating, you are only in the relationship for certain reasons and have stopped being fully invested. Maybe you are in it for the children, the combined income, or because your partner is still a kind person, but you already checked out if you considered cheating. Story 110. I would give my partner a chance if they cheated, but I would also be heartbroken. Cheating is not just about the sexual act itself. It is the fact that either you have built up walls so high that the two of you are not communicating or that there is non-reciprocal investment in the relationship. Story 111. She timed the disclosure perfectly. I guess it was a week after we got married, still honeymooning, when she told me she had been with her ex while we were dating. I reflected for a moment, decided it was beneath my dignity to respond emotionally, and shrugged it off. It has been a decade and a half now. I still detest the audacity of keeping it from me until she had committed to me. I still do not want to care. We remain somewhat happily married. Story 112. I do not, because a person who cheats will always cheat. However, I had a friend who said that if a girl cheated on him and asked for forgiveness, he would ask her to atone for her cheating. He told me that he forgave one of his girlfriends for cheating, and in return, he would have a threesome with her and one of her closest friends without taking her out on a date. For me, that was pretty wild. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.